Hi guys, Fleurette here with Ink on 3. Thanks for joining me. I've got the 1 in a million stamp set with this extra large floral that's so pretty. And I'm excited to show you one of my favorite techniques using Fadeout No-Line Coloring Ink for something other than no-line coloring. And it starts with a stencil. So I grabbed a stencil. This one's called My Bubbles and it's a series of circles. And I took the Fadeout Detail ink and I put it through the stencil, and you can see here we've got these beautiful bubbles all over the card. As you know, normally we use Fadeout ink for no-line coloring, but today we're going to take our stamp, we're going to lay it over the stenciled image that we just did, and this time we're going to use some Blackout Detail ink. It's permanent, it doesn't smear, and it dries super fast to the touch, so no worries about smearing, and we can start watercoloring right away. So I'm just pressing my stamp down using the MISTI, and look at that impression. Blackout Detail ink is always amazing. So before I put it away, I'm going to clean my stamp off with this super easy ink off stamp cleaner. I just wiped it off, dab my stamp, wipe it off again, and it's all clean and ready to use for the next use, plus it's conditioned. Amazing stuff. It will change the way you think about cleaning stamps. So let's get to the really fun part of watercoloring. I'm using the Atelier watercolor reinkers. They are amazing, super pigmented, very vibrant, and super forgiving. If you make a mistake, you can just ink lift it off. It's just super easy to use. And this technique we're doing with the Fadeout ink is, like I said, one of my favorites. So I've just taken all the reinkers and put them on a ceramic tile to make a palette. And I'm just going to haphazardly place different colors in rainbow order all around this rose. And as I'm painting, you'll start noticing the Fadeout ink is grabbing the colors that I put down and putting those beautiful bubbles all over the flower. It's going to give us so much depth and dimension and interest, and it looks so cool. It's just so fun, it's easy, it's kind of magical actually. And I'm not worrying about where I put it. I'm really just kind of laying it down and smushing it in. And even if I go outside the lines, it's not going to matter because we're going to color the background in a different way too. So I decided I needed a little more Sweet Petunia pink because I wanted it a little more vibrant. If you use the reinkers, you're going to get the deepest, darkest, richest tone. As you add water to it, you can get a lighter tone. So you can get the deep, rich color all the way to a very pale color using just one color from Atelier. But I'm mixing my colors. I've got the Sweet Petunia pink with the yellow, which gives me a beautiful orange. Look at that. Isn't that vibrant? And like I said, I just think it's so much fun to see those bubbles come out underneath, because Fadeout ink was designed to grab the color you lay on top, and it actually becomes the layer you put on top. So it allows for us to do this really fun technique where we are getting depth and dimension just by laying our colors down. And it gives us this really fun pattern with very little effort. So you can make mistakes too. You can see I thought I wanted to take a little ink off, so I put a little clean clear water, dabbed it with my sponge, and was able to correct a little mistake. So now I'm going to go in. These inks are also layerable, which makes them very fun to play with. So I did some yellow, the bee sting yellow on the leaves and the stems. Now I'm going to add some goddess green over the top of that because leaves have lots of yellows and greens and different colors in them. But you can see our little bubbles are popping through on those leaves too. Isn't that so cute and so fun? So now after I started with my lighter colors, I'm adding a little depth and dimension. I'm going a little deeper on the green and then just kind of blending the edges to give it some shadows, because the more lights and darks that you have, the more interest you're going to have in depth to your project. I think it's coming along really nicely, and then I look at it and I decide I want to have a little deeper tone. I always like to start light and work my way darker, then that it gives me the opportunity to change things as I go along. So now I'm adding some Trinity teal to the outside, and that's why I didn't have to worry so much about coloring in the lines, and it's kind of fun not to have to color in the lines. So I'm just going around and adding my color, my Trinity teal, to the outside to make my background. And this is like basically a one layer card. And again, you can see those bubbles popping through. Isn't that gorgeous? How do you like it? Leave me a comment and let me know what you think of the Fadeout ink to use it with a stencil and get those patterns to pop out in your painting and your project. I just think it's so much fun. So I'm going to start out by doing just a little light layer of Trinity Teal over the entire image. And I usually turn my piece upside down and this way and that way just to reach around different areas of my project. Some people will tape a project down. For me, I don't really like taping it unless I did it on a board that I can move around. Now I'm going to go in on the edges and I'm going to grab a little of the pitch black and I added it to my Trinity Teal to give me a deeper tone of the color. And look at this, is going to give me some nice shadowing and it almost looks like an ocean behind it, or like a really intense sky. I don't know. I just think it looks very cool and very fun. So I'm going around and adding some more depth and dimension with the pitch black mixed with the Trinity Teal. I also wind up mixing a little bit of the peacock blue to punch up the blue even more. But again, I'm just easily going around. I'm not worried. I'm just putting my color down, then I'll rinse my brush, go along the edge and blur it out so that it has really soft edges. And I'm going to go around the whole rows. And this really makes it pop. It's the colors are just going to jump off the page and it almost looks three-dimensional. It just looks so cool and it's really fun to do. And then when you're finished, you're just looking at it and seeing all the depth and dimension. But it was so easy to get it because we're adding the layers of Atelier, which are layerable inks. And you're going to see the different colors popping through in some areas. And then with the added dimension of the Fadeout ink underneath, which is giving us that super cool pattern, it looks like you worked really, really hard, but it's actually really fun and easy. It reminds me of these things we had when we were a kid, where you would take the pencil or the paint brush with clear water and you'd run it over and then the colors would pop out. It reminds me of that magic when you're a kid, so it's just fun to play with. So now I'm just looking at anywhere I think that I missed some spots with this, show some lightness coming through near the edges, and I'm adding some more. And then I decide I'm going to punch up the leaves a little bit by giving them a little more shadow, straight color, then a little clean clear water, and run it along the edges, and that's what gives you that softer tone. Then I'm actually going to look at my rose and add a little more depth and dimension to it too in just about a minute here. I'm going to add some more sweet petunia pink and some marigold orange and some my jam purple, and you can step up if you put a little too much water, but you can see it just really punches it up. And then of course we want some shimmer, so I'm going to add some liquid pixie dust. No card is finished without some liquid pixie dust. I just tapped it all around and get the shimmer all over, and then once I'm done with that, I'm going to take a paper towel, dab it on there, and look at that shimmer. It never comes across on camera as beautiful as it is in real life. It just really shimmers when you look at the card. It just really adds that extra pop of color and shimmer and interest to your card. Then I popped on a simple sentiment strip from the stamp set. I'm going to glue it to an A2 size card and then pop on my card front. I'm using the glue press from My Sweet Petunia, one of my favorite tools. It's always on my desk, and it just makes popping a card base on a card so much easier because I have some wiggle room and I can move it a little bit. And I'm going to press that down just to get everything in place. And I decided to put some more sparkle using some Trinity Stamps gems on top, and it kind of just looks like some water droplets on there, and it's just was so fun. I enjoyed making this card so much, and I love the way it turned out that I actually wound up making 2 of them, and I'm going to show you that in 1 second. But thanks for joining. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you really like what you see and you want to see more, hit the subscribe button for more. But I hope you'll give this technique with Fadeout a try. Thanks for joining. See you next time for more crafty fun.